League has a bunch of different multiverses in its skin lines, with all of these alternate versions of each champion, kinda like the alternate universes in Marvel or DC. And in this video, I'm gonna show you every Ezreal skin, talking about all the details, inspirations, and references while I do my own ranking from his weakest skin to his strongest one. TPA and SSG. Starting with the World Championship skins. This skin right here represents the player BB from the TPA, Taipei Assassins, as the team that won Worlds in 2012. And the look of this skin is slightly inspired by Neku Sakuraba, the main character from the 2007 RPG The World Ends With You. And one cool detail is that every Ezreal skin has a different artifact that shows up when you press Ctrl 1. On classic Ezreal, it's just the generic gold artifact. But on this skin, for example, it's a World's Trophy with the Taipei Assassins logo on it. And there's the SSG Ezreal. This skin represents a player Haru from Samsung Galaxy, which is funny because he wasn't actually the ADC on the team. He was their jungler. Apparently, Ezreal was so strong in the jungle like 8 years ago, which Riot completely destroyed the meta for. So unfortunately, Riot never made it so Haru could use the skin honoring him in the role he actually played his whole career. The appearance of Ezreal in this skin references the Hurong, which was the group of elite warriors from a 10th century Korean kingdom that even has its own drama series today. They were known for having long hair, same as Ezreal's hairstyle in this skin, which is pretty different because here his hair isn't all spiky and standing up like in most of his other skins. These skins are going to be left out of the list because they don't really have any lore. They just honor the players that won Worlds, so it's impossible to rank them in terms of power. If it was at least like Ezreal being a fan of that team in real life, then you could say he has the power level of a normal human, but there's honestly nothing to compare here. Arcade. This skin has a ton of references, starting with the glove that turns into a modified power glove with button layouts from the Sega Dreamcast controller, which is literally the video game console strapped to his back. On his other hand, he's got this gold ring on his wrist that actually reminds you of one of Sonic's rings, and his outfit style really screams Sora from Kingdom Hearts, especially with the shorts, the shoes, and the chain around his waist. Plus his hair kinda looks like Clouds from Final Fantasy VII. His abilities also have a bunch of fun details. His W has a reference to Navi from The Legend of Zelda, that little fairy that marks enemies for Link to attack, and if you look at its W projectile, it literally looks like a Zelda fairy. His ultimate comes out of a sword that totally looks like Cloud's Buster Sword, and in the recall for his skin, Ez fights an ancient dragon on Summoner's Rift in a Final Fantasy style, selecting the opponent and attacking with a background music that's basically the victory theme of Final Fantasy VII, and the Control 1 for this skin shows a health potion straight out of an RPG. I put him last on the list, but honestly, he shouldn't even be ranked. He exists inside an arcade world that doesn't affect reality. So to beat him, you literally just have to unplug the video game. Debonar. The Debonar skin universe got a rework in 2021 to make it more than just champions and suits, giving the newer versions a bit more style and deeper vibes. But unlike those newer Debonar skins, this Ezreal one was the first and really doesn't have much lore beyond him being Ezreal in a suit and done. LOL. It kinda gives the impression that he's just a normal human without powers, since the only thing the description really says is that he dresses well. Also, this is the only Ezreal skin that had chromas before the rework, and his artifact in his skin is a gold statue that kinda looks like an Oscar trophy. He's in this spot because he's just a normal human who could just unplug the video game too. Heartsteel. In this universe, Ezreal is a part of a band made up of a bunch of champions, and he's the lead vocalist. In the Paranoia music video, he's portrayed in that role with the real-world singer Baekhyun providing his voice. The band Heartsteel includes Ezreal, Set, Yone, Cassante, Kayn, and Aphelios, and their debut single Paranoia features Baekhyun, Toby Lowe, Ozzy, and Cal Scrubby. Ezreal is the youngest member, and before joining Heartsteel, he was known as a one-hit wonder with the song called You're My Museum, which is a nod to his classic line.
You belong in a museum.
He's the type of guy who takes selfies of literally everything. The promo art is full of Polaroids. You see him with the selfie stick in his recall, and it's in the middle of the band's music video too. In one of the chromas, he's wearing an outfit that totally looks like Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is definitely a reference. His Control 1 in this skin isn't anything crazy though. It's just a generic music award trophy thing. Doesn't even really look like a Grammy or anything. I placed him just ahead of the Debonar skin because even though both are basically normal humans, his outfit looks more comfortable and would interfere less in a fight compared to a stiff suit. Crystal Rose. Moving on to a Wild Rift skin. This is his first exclusive legendary skin from the Crystal Rose line. And just like the Ace of Spades or Debonar, this is basically just Ezreal in a suit 3.0, and that's it. The difference is that on his gauntlet in the skin, there's a massive wedding ring, because the whole aesthetic of these skins that first came to Wild Rift was meant to look like a wedding setup. Basically, a symbolic marriage between Ezreal and Lux. Even though he's still just a normal human, I put him ahead of the previous skins because in this one, he's married. So he has way more to lose, especially especially Lux. Because of that, he'd fight with a lot more determination, which makes him stronger. Lovestruck. Another Wild Rift exclusive skin for him, which funnily enough also has a connection to Lux, is the Valentine's Day skin called Heartfelt Ezreal. This skin pairs with Lux once again. Now with this very 80s inspired vibe with flashy, colorful outfits, just like the clothes from the channel's merch store, which you can check out by clicking the link in the description. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe, and consider becoming a member to get access to a bunch of cool perks, like choosing the theme for a video. I placed this one here because just like Crystal Rose, he would fight harder to impress Lux, basically earning points with her by showing off his strength. Crystal Rose Ezreal already won Lux over, so since Heartfelt Ezreal still needs to conquer her, he would naturally put in more effort to win. Ace of Spades. This one is basically the same idea as a Debinar skin. It's Ezreal in fancy clothes, but with a royalty theme. This skin is a part of a small set of 5 skins inspired by playing card suits, with Ezreal representing the Ace of Spades, just like the name says. These skins don't really have proper lore either, so yeah, it's basically Ezreal in a blue suit. The artifact in this skin is a metal object that looks like a chess piece or something like that, with the spade symbol and a diamond shape on top. I put him ahead of Crystal Rose because being royalty, he probably had at least some basic combat training, making him stronger than the previous ones. Striker. This one is the first football-themed skins in League. This skin was released alongside Akali, Blitzcrank, and Katarina skins to celebrate the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, and it's literally just Ezreal dressed as a soccer player. His Control 1 artifact is a football trophy that looks a lot like the World Cup trophy. This skin is ranked higher than the last ones because even though he's just a normal human, he's a professional football player, meaning he's way more athletic than the others. His legs must hit insanely hard. Nottingham. This Ezreal skin is referenced to both Link, the main character of the Zelda franchise, and Robin Hood, because he's half elf and also a rogue. Overall, this Ezreal skin is basically a recolor that changes a few details, like his fully green outfit, elf ears, and some small wings on his gauntlet. This skin is a part of a medieval skin line called Albion, and Pulsefire Ezreal even references this version of Ezreal, as if this skin was his character in an RPG.
Ooh, can I join your game? My character is Jarrow Lightfeather, handsome, rogue, paladin, elf.
His Control 1 in this version is a green vial, like a healing potion. I place him here on this list because even though there's nothing super special about him, he's still an adventurous elf, so he definitely has way more combat experience than the previous skins. Fairy Court. This skin line has a detail where every wave of skins is based on the 4 seasons of the year, and each champion belongs to the court of a specific season. In Ezreal's case, he represents summer, but in the earlier concepts, he was actually planned to go through all 4 seasons before Riot decided to only release him with the summer skin. Maybe Riot originally planned for him to get the legendary skin, and later decided to give the legendary to Karma instead, especially because Ezreal and Karma are the only champions in this skin line who have a concept art showing all 4 seasonal styles. Maybe Riot's idea was to make a legendary skin that switch between the 4 seasons, which honestly sounds way more like an ultimate skin. But in the end, Karma's legendary only has 1 style anyway. The Control 1 artifact for this skin is the most random ones out there because it doesn't really look like anything special. It's just a piece of metal with a purple orb on top. You can't even really tell what it's supposed to be. I put him in this spot because he's the lord of the Summer Court who investigates ancient magic, so he does have powers. Plus he's a fairy, not a human and not an elf. But don't get it twisted, he's not actually that strong. The lore of these skins is way more focused on politics than actual combat or raw power, and Ezreal himself is an investigator, not some insanely strong mage. Battle Academia. Another Ezreal skin that's heavily inspired by anime. This one is his first legendary skin that follows a theme where he's basically the Midoriya from My Hero Academia, like the protagonist of a superhero school anime. A lot of his voice lines in this skin reference both My Hero Academia specifically and shonen anime in general, and that even shows up in the animations, like the Control 2 where Ezreal does something that looks like a Rasengan while striking a Super Saiyan pose. And the more stacks he gets from his passive and reaches max attack speed, his hair literally starts standing up like an actual Super Saiyan. The joke with this skin is that he's texting Lux and sends him a bunch of emojis in these manga style speech bubbles, and his reactions play out like just straight up anime scenes where he gets happy, sad, or embarrassed. On the home guard animation, he's running late to school with a piece of toast in his mouth, which is a super common high school anime cliche. When he uses his Q, a sword comes out of his gauntlet, and with his W, there are 3 swords spinning around when whoever gets hit. And if you pop W on a turret, this giant sword drops on top of it. His ultimate animation and voice lines change depending on the level of his R.
I hope this works! Crimson Cobalt! Ah! It's over! Crimson Cobalt! Ah! My ultimate attack! Crimson Cobalt! Ah!
And the crit animation for the skin has Ezreal posing with his hands out like he's about to fire a Kamehameha. Battle Academia Ezreal was just a regular guy until his hidden potential awakened when he faced a deadly threat. He actually has a lot of power, and even though he's still training and improving, I placed him here because even though he's a very power focused, he's still at the beginning of his journey and needs to grow a lot before reaching his peak. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and maybe consider becoming a member to get access to a bunch of cool perks. And while you're down there, don't forget to click the link to go to our store. There's a lot of really cool designs available and cool merch, so go check it out. Frosted, Mask of the Black Rose, and Explorer. This skin is kind of canonical. According to its description, this appearance and disguise of Ezreal uses while traveling through the Freljord, or it's a skin that references a specific moment in his journey, almost like a lore skin, similar to Freljord Talia and Freljord Silas. In the splash art, he's shown in the Citadel of Praglatius, which is where Lysandre's tribe is based, and there's a smaller Easter egg in the background that looks like a teaser for the updated appearance of Tundra Hunter Warwick. The artifact in this skin is a small ice crystal sculpture, pretty generic and nothing special. One detail is that this skin was always heavily requested by the community to have different skill effects, making everything more blue to match the ice theme. Even though this skin is very simple and only cost 520 RP, Ezreal players really wanted more unique effects. And this isn't even unusual, because Spectral Fiddlesticks, which costs the same, has unique skill effects. But instead of just recoloring Ezreal's abilities, Riot decided to release a chroma tied to that Kaisa Prestige Pass. So for people who wanted better visual effects on the skin, they didn't just need to get the chroma, they had to buy an entire pass just to see Ezreal's ultimate turn blue. Still sticking with the technically canonical versions, we have the Black Rose Ball Ezreal. After being invited by the Black Rose to a masquerade ball, he invades the ceremony just to see if there's anything worth stealing. And for anyone who thinks Ezreal is getting an invitation from the Black Rose is random, back when the interactive Runeterra map launched, there was a feature where you could read Ezreal's field notes across the map. And in Noxus, he talks about a time where he passed through the Immortal Bastion to meet a contact about artifacts from a previous adventure. But instead, he only found a strange person who gave him a black rose petal, kind of like a warning, or maybe an invitation. In this skin description, which is the letter Ezreal received, he's called the Lightfeather Jaro, which is Ezreal's favorite alias for sneaking in and out of places without being easily identified. And the artifact for this skin is one of the most interesting ones, since it's not a statue or a trophy, it's a mask. Another skin that's technically canonical is Explorer Ezreal, although nowadays it's unclear if it's actually canon, since Ezreal is already an explorer in his basic lore. This skin is basically just another look for him, but with a minor style aesthetic. This skin belongs to a small group of 3 other skins whose names reference internet browsers, like Safari Caitlyn, which references the browser with the same name, Chrome Ramus, which references Google Chrome, Firefox Ari, which references Mozilla Firefox, and Ezreal's skin referencing Internet Explorer. The Control 1 artifact for this skin is very similar to the base one, but styled in like some kind of ancient idol, maybe Mayan or something like that. And all 3 of these skins share the same position as base Ezreal in ranking, because they're all just Ezreal wearing different outfits. If it was Ezreal from different points in time, like his past or future in the lore, you could argue he'd be stronger or weaker, but it's really just different clothes he wears on different adventures. And now talking about base Ezreal. From the very beginning of Ezreal's development, his idea and concept revolved around 2 words: spellcasting marksman. And you can see this really clearly in one of the earliest concepts of the champion, where he was shown wearing glasses and had this scholar-like appearance, almost like a blonde Harry Potter. That was actually how he looked during pre-development. He didn't even have the gauntlet yet, but he could still create a magical bow. What ended up making it into League though was a version that looked way more like Indiana Jones, where instead of just being a magic student, he became an adventurer, and his visual design it was way more stylish, and that only kept improving over time, all the way up to his 2018 rework. That rework still follows the spellcaster aesthetic, but in a much more modern and well executed way, obviously. And I'd say Ezreal manages to fully embrace the explorer look without straight up copying Indiana Jones or other inspirations like Nathan Drake, for example. Ezreal ends up with a style that's way more his own and very unique. He's in this spot on the list because he's insanely strong in the lore. First of all, his IQ is extremely high. He barely studied for exams and still got top grades. And then there's his gauntlet, which is a super legendary item that belonged to a Shuriman warrior god, and it can amplify his magic 100 times. On top of that, he also has several other arcane artifacts that we have no idea what they actually do. Some of them we can even see in his cards in Legends of Runeterra. He has absurd levels of experience from going on countless adventures all across Runeterra. So even though he has a pretty complicated personality, he absolutely deserves this spot on the list. Porcelain Protector. This was Ezreal's second legendary skin, with an aesthetic inspired by Chinese porcelain art mixed with the Chinese zodiac. In this skin, Ezreal represents the protector of the tiger relic, which actually manifests in his ultimate and his emotes, like in his Control 3, which references a viral video edit of a dancing cat synced to Hatsune Miku. But in the skins version, Ezreal plays a song called Blue and White Porcelain by Jay Chou using a porcelain vase, while his tiger just bobs his head next to him. In early concept arts for this skin, Ezreal honestly looks straight up like a Genshin Impact character. If Riot had released him something like that officially, you could almost argue it was plagiarism. And this skin also has a cool detail where when Ezreal fully stacks his passive, he gains a blue aura, along with tiger ears and a tiger tail. In the skin line's lore, he ended up releasing an evil witch during his research, and he only survives because Lux and the tiger relic show up just in time to save him. After that, he joins the protectors to clean up the mess he created himself. This skin line has a very high power level overall, because it's extremely focused on raw power. But Ezreal is described as being new to the world of magic, so he can't be that strong yet. It's similar to Battle Academia, where Ezreal is still learning how to properly use his abilities. I placed him here mainly because he seems much more confident and secure in his powers. Psyops. In this universe of this skin, Ezreal is a recruit in an army with a really strong psychic power, and because of that, he thinks he's way better than everyone else in his squad. He's so full of himself that his teammates literally hate his attitude and are basically rooting for him to die on the battlefield. In the Psyops skin trailer, titled Operation Songbird, it shows the threat level of each Psyops squad member, where everyone has a threat rating and specialization. Ezreal is an exfiltration specialist, with the lowest threat level in his group, which is 9, while everyone else is at a 10. During the skin's development, Riot was figuring out how to apply this concept of psychic manipulation with this futuristic war theme. So they had ideas like Ezreal firing bullets with his Q, or the knife he interacts with in the Recall doing a scene that feels very Matrix style. And you can see in this concept that Riot really explored a bunch of ideas for Ezreal here, which honestly fits the psychic soldier theme better than almost any champion. In the cinematic, each champion has a number, and Ez's number is 47 in the corner of the screen, referencing the fact that he's the 47th champion released in League. His Control 1 is the most creative ones, because instead of a treasure or artifact he grabs in his hand, he picks up an explosive-like grenade that even has a little countdown beeping sound, as if it's about to blow up in his hand. Even though he's young, he has really high psychic power. He's in an elite group, where only the most badass soldiers get in, even if he's the least badass among the badasses. I have a really good analogy for this, but it only makes sense if you see Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like all the previous Ezreals were like teenage Gojo in Season 2. In Psyops, Ezreal is like Toji. Even though Gojo is considered the strongest sorcerer, Toji beat him with pure preparation and strategy. And those characteristics can absolutely count as a type of power for a character, like Batman, who uses strategy and prep more than raw magic. Now, the prestige version of the skin basically just says that Ezreal's military psychic mastery was so insane that he got promoted in rank and became like an elite soldier. And that's really all there is to it. Back when this came out, prestige skins were basically just a gold chroma for whatever skin it was, and Riot really didn't bother writing deeper lore for it. I ranked the prestige above the normal one because he got promoted, so that means his power and experience would have evolved more as a result. Weather Entity. This is another legendary Ezreal skin from Wild Rift, set in a world shaped by powerful and conflicting climate spirits. Back when most people still saw climate spirits as harbingers of disaster, Ezreal had already befriended more sun spirits than he could even count, declaring himself the Herald of Clear Skies. He ventures into the darkest storms and the most desolate tundras, spreading precious sunlight wherever he goes. This carefree young guy believes that as long as he has the climate squad and loyal companions in his gauntlet, they can turn even the fiercest storm into a gentle breeze. And this skin actually changes from when he fully stacks his passive. He starts glowing completely, with clouds forming around his body, which looks a lot like Luffy in Gear 5, especially because of the whole sun theme and the visual effects. And honestly, that's just insanely cool. This skin is gorgeous. We don't really have a lot of information about the power level in the skin line, but it's implied that at least some of these climate spirits, especially the strong ones, are basically gods. And Ezreal's really close with several of them. The little we do know about his abilities is that he can fly and manipulate weather. You can only really compare him properly by looking at the power level of the others. But this skin line just doesn't give us that much more concrete information overall. The prestige gacha version of this skin is described as Ezreal's sun entity encountering the rain. And because of the light refraction version, he shifts from the sun entity into the rainbow entity. Basically the same being, but in a different form. And when he goes into that shirtless form and everything, man, it looks like crystallized radiant visual pollution. The sun version was way better and way prettier. This one is just shine on top of more shine, and that's it. There's no way to know for sure if he actually got stronger with the rainbow thing, but he definitely didn't get weaker either, so I'd assume he got a bit stronger and placed him here on this list. Pajama Guardian. This version just shows Ezreal at a pajama party with Lux, Misfortune, Soraka, and Lulu in the Star Guardian universe. The skin is very similar to this base version, and in general, these pajama skins are just extra versions of something that already existed. But it was a cool idea for Riot to make the Star Guardian skins feel at least a little different. And if you buy a Star Guardian skin for a champion that has a pajama version, the pajama skin becomes cheaper, with up to a 50% discount if I remember correctly, which is great, because if these skins were released nowadays, they'd cost a kidney and 2 livers. And in the splash art, there are some really cool Easter eggs. There's a bucket of burritos on the floor. The board game they're playing is a real board game Riot released back in 2016 called Mechs vs. Minions. And on the shelf to the left, there's a photo of Ari's group. A bit higher up, there's a book called The Storm and the Saber, which is the same romance novel starring Garen and Katarina of Bilgewater that Odyssey Yasuo reads. This was actually Ezreal's last skin before his rework. He's placed this high on the list because the power level of the Star Guardian universe is completely insane. These characters are students who received cosmic powers and fight entities that can destroy the universe. They can fly, they don't age, they can travel through space, they fight things equivalent to the void way more directly and frequently than in the main universe, and they're connected to the Dark Star universe, which has beings that can destroy planets with a flick of their hand. The power jump from the previous universe to this one is massive. The level skyrockets. It's not an exaggeration to say that this Ezreal would solo every previous version on this list at once. Star Guardian. Ezreal was the first male champion in the Star Guardian skin line, and he brought a completely new vibe to the theme by being a part of the new Star Guardian team led by Ari. His appearance is inspired by N. Yufin from the anime Cute High Earth Defense Club Love, which is a parody of Mahou shoujo genre. Mahou shoujo are magical girl animes, where girls defend the earth using bright outfits with kind of a maid-like aesthetics, like Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, and Madoka Magica. But this specific anime is a parody because the main cast is entirely male. Ezreal looks a lot like N. Yufin because they're both blonde and wear blue and white themed outfits. And the Control 1 artifact for the skin is a little miniature doll of Star Guardian Ezreal himself, which is honestly really cute. I place this one above Pajama Guardian because there he's actually combat ready. While in Pajama Guardian, he's way more relaxed and not really locked in for a fight. Heaven Scale. In this universe, the champions are dragons who come down to Earth in human form to disguise themselves and party among humans. And while most skins in this line barely look like dragons at all, usually just have generic horns or weird dragon feet, Ezreal actually stands out a lot. His entire gauntlet is designed as a dragon claw, and it looks way better than the hands on Lee Sin's legendary skin, which honestly looks like they're made out of printer paper because of how weird the model is, even for a legendary. This design choice for Ezreal is so good because it really sells the vibe of a powerful being pretending to be human, but only halfway. Like, he doesn't really care if someone figures it out. And the artifact for this skin is a kind of serpentine bronze statue. Man, the dragons from this universe are basically deities from a draconic celestial court. That means Ezreal here is extremely powerful. It's stated that he's a cunning royal scout and shouldn't be underestimated. He's a god himself, not a herald or a servant. He's straight up a divine being. The prestige version of this one is just those fancy upscale versions of the same skin. It's basically the exact same thing, but in a gala outfit. It does look pretty nice, but it's also kind of whatever, like most prestige skins. One cool little detail is that it changes the color of the artifact. Pulsefire. Pulsefire Ezreal was the first ultimate skin in League of Legends, and it introduced a completely new mechanic at the time. His appearance evolves as you level up his ultimate, with him gaining more and more armor as the game goes on. During development, this skin was originally called Cyber Ezreal, and in France it was known as Mega Ezreal, which is a very clear reference to Mega Man, one of the main inspirations behind Ezreal's design, especially with the futuristic cannon arm. This skin was also the first one to feature multiple voices. In this case, Ezreal's suit talks to him through an AI called Pearl, which adds a lot of personality to the skin. For a long time, this skin was considered one of the weakest ultimate skins, or at least was, until we got the absolute disasters like Soul Fighter Samira. And don't even get me started on the exalted skins, because holy shit. But here's a fun fact. During the first 4 days after launch, Pulsefire Ezreal costed only 1625 RP, and it was only later that Riot officially established the new ultimate skin price at at 3250 RP. And honestly, this skin has a ton of cool details. Like he has different walking animations when you press Control 5, where he literally floats forward instead of walking. His last hit animation makes minions explode into little blue clouds, and his recall animation is packed with references, where he pulls out removed items from old League versions, like the Heart of Gold, Cage's Lucky Pick, and Philosopher's Stone, all gold per second items that were eventually removed because they were a nightmare for Riot to balance. This skin also holds what is probably an almost impossible record to beat. It has the highest number of interactions across the most different skin lines in the entire game. Since Pulsefire Ezreal travels through multiple eras and universes, he ends up interacting with an absurd number of alternate skins and timelines. And honestly, that's one of the coolest things about this skin, on top of everything else I had already mentioned.
Look, I know you aren't happy with how I destroyed those universes, but I swear it was an accident.
You don't really need me to explain much more than this. Pulsefire Ezreal has destroyed entire universes, even if it wasn't intentional. For him to visit another Ezreal's universe and accidentally cause a multiversal disaster is basically just another Tuesday, and that's why he takes first place. That's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video.